but whatever. Gotta move this bad boy back here. Love my checklist. Love knocking stuff off of that. Full windshield. There's several different ways to do it. People, several different tools. Some people use piano wire. I've always used this. I don't do them enough. I've probably only done, hell, maybe a dozen or two in my entire life. So it's not worth buying the fancy electric cutter. But it's pretty simple, really. Let's see here. There you go. All it is a blade, bend it 90 degrees. And you just poke it down underneath the windshield so that you can get past the butyl, and then use this handle to pull on it. So it's good to start somewhere. I think, Phil, easy. If you're trying to start here, it's a little tougher to get the tool in, but start here, then you can work your way around. Not rocket science by any means. Just poking the blade through the butyl and pulling on it. So I don't know how else to fancy it up for you or make it sound more interesting or cool, but it's a necessary thing. So I'm going to do the rest of the window, pop this bad boy out. That'll allow me to get behind in this area and finish a few welds that I couldn't reach. And also, we're going to make some gussets that go from the stock pillar to the roll cage. Make everything stronger. You know, basically, at that point, we're putting a sheet metal gusset in between the stock pillar, which is basically a tube, and the roll cage tube, giving me two roll bars, or two post bars, essentially. That way, again, if the inevitable ever happens, or well, if worst case scenario ever happens, I don't want to say inevitable, but if worst case ever scenario ever happens and I roll this thing, it's just more strength, more protection. It's going to take, this whole project's probably be about 5-6 hours in total, but well worth it. Well worth it. So let's go to the, you don't want to watch me tug on this thing for 10 or so minutes, so. Holy moly. This is a aftermarket window, and they didn't get rid of all the old butyl, and it was thicker than hell. You can see here's the new that they put on, and here's from the OEM that they just cut. God, this stuff is thick. Unbelievable. Usually it's not that bad. Today it was. But whatever. Yeah, I got double, or the double thick. Maybe they put I'm not a window guy, so I'm just speculating. Maybe they put a bead on here and a bead on the glass. I've never seen that before, but God, this is thick. Anyhow, that was about 30 minutes of struggling. I don't care about cracking this because it was already cracked, so this one's not going back in. I didn't want to break it, however, shatter it, have a bunch of glass shards all over the place, so that's why it took a little longer, and was careful. If I was saving this, you know, I wouldn't have pried on it as much as I did. Putting the sticks in there like I did to help hold it, hold a gap. Won't normally crack these. The paint sticks aren't thick enough, and you don't shove them up in there. But as this gets old and cured, it wants to let go with some pressure. So I like this. I'll stick those paint sticks in there, and sometimes I'll just let it sit for a while. And that constant force, that constant away force or upward force is just constantly pulling on all this just slightly. It helps make it easier. And today I may have done that if I wasn't videoing, but I gotta get it all done so the footage looks good and continuous. Insert sound effect here. Ding! So next up, vacuum this up real quick. Get what little, there's always shards of glass. You're always going to chip the edge of the glass, at least in my experience. I'm sure there's people out there way better than me. Don't light me up in the comments, but I'm going to vacuum all this up, all these little shards of glass from the knife cutting on the edge. Clean this edge up real good and get it ready for the next window. Sand and paint my vent, I guess, so it looks nice and not rusty. And then we'll start making templates for this piece. Like I say, I want to run a piece from about 12 o'clock on this tube to just inside this flange here. And we're going to run it all the way up as far as we can. And I'll put some holes in it to help lighten it up, and then we'll hit it with some Dimple dyes to put strength back in the flat panel, and they look cool. I ain't gonna lie, I like them. They look cool. So I'm gonna get my butt to work. This is a gasket scraper, works really well to get all the butyl off. Main thing is, let's see, not sure if it'll focus or not, but you can see how it's flat on this edge and it's chiseled there, and that's sharp. You want to lay it as flat as you can on the sheet metal so it gets underneath that butyl to lift it off. I got about 70% of this done, which is probably taking me about 10 minutes so far. It's not overly difficult. I like it a lot better than using like a wire wheel or anything like that that puts a bunch of little butyl dust all over the place. So, and then you can see, to get that first initial layer, just get it down low and lean on it. And just cut right up, then just go back through. You know, you have to hit it a couple times to get it good and low. And then eventually I will hit it with like a 4.5 inch wire wheel just to get the rest of it off and get this all. Normally you wouldn't do this. You know, if it was just like a daily driver or something, this would be good enough. Just using this scraper, but I do see Not much, but I do see a few spots. There's a little rust in this corner here I'm seeing. It's probably going to need addressed. And so since, in my mind, since I'm down this far, I might as well go all the way, right? But like I said, I don't, those little butyl shards or whatever, you know, once you hit them with a wire wheel and they get hot and they stick to you and they get everywhere and it's just messy and gooey. I don't want to fool with it. So to minimize that, I use this. So I got my first template done here. I'll do step by step on the passenger side. But one of the things I need to do on these videos, be more beneficial for you guys and gals, is make the first one and explain to you what I've done and then show you what I've done. So one thing you'll almost always see is that I label everything. Sometimes these panels are real close. The top and the bottom will be real close in dimensions, and if you flip it around or get it upside down or backwards, you'll chase your tail, you'll mismark the wrong end, something goofy. So I've just learned to not try and be a hero or a stud anymore, and always label what's the top outside or bottom outside or whatever. For me, it's very helpful. Maybe not for you, but it's what I've done, and it's always been very helpful for me. So I went and measured. What I measured was to the top of the bar here, which would be like, say, 12 o'clock. That's where I put this mark initially. And then I went over a 1/4 of an inch and marked again, and that's where I cut. And then at my mark at 12 o'clock, I bent this. And you can bend the cardboard when you're making templates, and it'll hold its shape pretty decently. So I bent this at probably 15 degrees. And that way this mark, when I clamp it down and get ready to weld, will line back up, and where I've bent it will wrap around the tube, so I don't have a hard goofy edge just sticking off the top surface of the tube. You know, the tube's round, and that'll wrap around, and then I'll go through and I'll just put some small stitch welds in here on the outside to hold it in place. Probably, you know, 2-inch welds. Weld 2 inches, skip 2 inches, weld 2 inches, skip 2 inches type of deal. This particular panel is 22 inches tall and started off at 6 inches wide. Trimmed it down some. It does have a slight taper up top. It's a little wider. It's kind of hard to see, but it goes up and it's going to sit on top of this post, and then I'll weld it. Same deal, you know, I'll do like a 2-inch weld, skip 2 inches, 2-inch weld, skip 2 inches, and that as you can tell, look, it's just one big nasty gnarly gusset. It doesn't, you know, this is my driver's view. It doesn't affect seeing anything, and over there it won't affect seeing anything at all. You can see it'll run just right on top of the bar, just barely, so it's not going to add or restrict any view. So when I'm sitting here, same thing. I mean, maybe I've lost a tiny sliver of daylight through there, but who cares? Steering column, you know, we're here or here for the light or there for the light, so it doesn't restrict view. No worries there, and it's going to add a ton of strength. So also maybe you'll notice took a Sharpie line here and here, and this will be my measurement, and I'll figure out what that is, and then run a center line, and then at 22 inches I'll figure out which dimple die I'm going to use, and how many holes we're going to put in here, and then we'll add some shape to that as well. Alright, so I'm getting ready to start laying this one out so that we can get that duplicated over here. So the first thing you'll notice is it's tight up here and down here, and we have a big gap. So I want to match this radius with the template so that when I make the sheet metal, how did I not notice that? So that when I make the sheet metal, it fits in there nicely. I have to clean that out, but so there's several ways you can do this. You can use a scribe for one, or you can use this method, because I only need to get rid of about a quarter of an inch here, and there's this should have had that ready so it'd be quicker, right? Morning. Since I only need to get rid of about a quarter of an inch there to get that to fill that gap, looky here, Sharpie from here to that tip is about a quarter of an inch. So for this portion of this, we're going to mark it here, and we're just going to trace this. See how we get closer to the edge? Now we're getting farther away. Once I trim that with scissors, it should suck in there really good. Nothing in life's perfect. I probably won't get it right the first time, and I'll have to trim it a little bit here and there, but in this instance, no scribe needed. Just run this edge along the edge you're duplicating, and the tip of the Sharpie will follow. And that's one way that you can duplicate something like that when you need to duplicate a shape. So I got my line here, trusty scissors. You see there where I did it twice. Cut on the outside. It's easier to take more off than it is to try and put it back on. It's just that simple. Just trace the line. I mean, we all learned how to do this in kindergarten, right? So now we have that radius in here, and if this doesn't work, it's a lot closer, and I should be able to look at it and just mark a little area here or a little area there and know where I need to trim to get a perfect fit. Alright, so got that edge done. First try, came out really well, with the exception I had to trim this corner up here just a little bit, but now it sits up in there just like I wanted. Works beautifully. Now to mark the other side. So what I like to do is mark it where it's touching, where it first touches, which is here, about 1 o'clock there, and I prefer 12 o'clock, but it is what it is. Then we're going to come over about, and I'll measure that, but then we're going to come over about a quarter of an inch, make another mark. And like I said, this will be the line. I'll draw that line all the way up. We'll cut it there, and then we'll bend it here, and it'll wrap around, and it'll fit beautifully. or it won't, and I'll make another one that will. Sometimes that's how it goes too. So like I say, cardboard brake. It's got a lot of spring back to it, so definitely got to overbend it, but you can tell right there. Keeps its shape. Good enough for what we're doing. I mean, it's just mock-up. So let's go right over there and see what we got. So I got lucky. Came out real well the first time. I like how it fits here and here on the bar. And like I said, you can see how it wraps around. And I know you're looking at these like, man, that looks huge. And it is, you know, they're like 5.5 inches-ish each. But like I said, when we do this from the driver's seat, you don't even see them. It doesn't obstruct your view at all. It's not going to affect or hurt anything in that respect. But now you got a double frame rail, A pillar, or double pillar post. So don't be worried about that when you're looking at them and you're like, oh my, that's got to be obstructing the view. What is that hurting? You can't see, you don't even see them. So now I'll mark that one out on the back side so I know, you know, where my two lines are that run along there. Find the center of them, and then I'll decide what dimple dies are going to work best. We'll cut these out in some 18 gauge steel, trim them up, hit them with the brake, you know, make sure everything's good, and then we'll lay them out, hole saw some holes in them. So here's what we're going to be using to make the shape in the panel. These are called punch and flare dies, most commonly dimple dies. This set I've had for 20 years probably. Made by JMR. No sponsorship, no, you know, no nothing like that. Just I've had them for 20 years. Haven't used them a great deal, but I do use them when I can, and I've never had an issue out of them. This particular set goes all the way from a 1/2 inch, which is the hole that you'll make, not the overall size of the flare. So this, you drill a 1/2 inch hole here, put your metal in between here and smash them together, and it'll put that shape in the metal. And adding that third dimension to the metal strengthens it. So when I said, you know, again, 1/2 inch refers to this dimension, not this dimension, but this dimension, this outside of the flare dimension is important as well. So we go all the way from 1/2 inch up to a 3 inch. So cut a 3 inch hole, and that's probably a 4 1/4 to 4 1/2 inch shape once all said and done. So I've already went through and plotted this out and figured everything out. This is 1.5 inches, which is what we're going to use, and it flares out on the outside to 2 1/4, which fits our panel really well. So that gives me the biggest hole for the most lightening of the panel as possible. And then this outside here will, excuse me, this outside flange is my outside dimension. So we come over here. I've already laid this out. I've already measured it. And I'm 2.5 up at the top for my widest measurement, and this is 2 inches at the widest measurement of that flare. So that tells me, I went through, marked this out, every 2 inches, and that tells me that this will fit very well up here up the top. And then I can put 1, 2, we're going to skip a mark, 3, 4, 5 flared holes in here. So I need to go through, lay this out on some steel now. Then I'll go through, transfer all these, all this information that's on the cardboard to the steel, and then I'll drill pilot holes, and then we'll use use our 1.5-inch hole saw to hole saw this hole out, and then I'll show you how we can flare these. Alright, so got our shapes cut out. Let's test fit. Driver's side fits beautifully. I didn't do that for any reason other than there was some rust on the back side of the panel. Wasn't trying to be fancy or anything. It's all getting painted black, so beautiful there. You can see it's that slight bit of overhang. We're going to scribe our line in there and bend that, which will scribe that on the back side here. And because we're bending this flange this direction, so when we flip the panel over, it's giving us that angle down that we want. And to do that, using my handy dandy scribe here, I've used these forever, love them. Goes from 1/4 inch up to 4 3/4 inch. So awesome tool. Great time saver, easy and accurate. You see, it was just that easy to scribe our 1/4 inch mark in there. Just layer on there and voila. It's not an expensive tool. Maybe 20-30 bucks, but man, is it worth every penny. Throw this bad boy in the brake. Put the edge of this finger on our line. And just want to put not a whole lot. bending a little 1/4 inch return like that kind of sucks. You don't got much meat to grab here for bending, but I mean that's literally all we need, just that little bit. Just like that, got a nice, it's meeting the edge real well down here at the bottom. I can see here in the center, I've got a little hump right here that I need to grind down, and that'll allow the rest of this to come into place. Yeah. Can see where I didn't come all the way to the line, so from here to here I need to go all the way to the line, and that'll allow me to draw in all the way. So let me go do that and see what we got. Okay, so you can see I have the first one clamped into place. Fits nice. The break in the plate matches the edge real well. I'll have to do a little bit of final fitting. It won't come down this low. It needs to go up about 1/4 inch. This won't be on the radius of the bend at all. But that gives you an idea of what that looks like. So now I just got to do the same thing over here, and then we'll lay this out, start plugging some holes in these bad boys, and yeah, be party time. Alright, so we got our holes drilled out with the hole saw. I always like to take the grinder to the edge. I don't care. I've never experienced a hole saw or drill bit or anything that has truly not had a burr. They always leave something behind. I don't want to worry about scratching the tooling. It's an expensive kit. I want to last as long as possible. So I always just take the grinder, hit it real quick, clean it up before I insert the tool. See, I put a little bit of lube in here. Doesn't need anything crazy, just a little bit. It's real simple. You know, just pay attention to the shape, depending on if you want the flare to go in or out. If you want to go out, you'll put this one on the bottom of this particular panel. We want it to go in, so we're putting it on the top, closing it up. Most times you'll see videos of guys using a press. I do have a press. It's a huge press. It's in the shipping container. Not worth the effort to dig out. This is 18 gauge material. I can form this in the vise by hand, and so that's what we're going to do. These dies are good up to 16 gauge. 16 gauge might be a bit of a bear in a vise like this, but 18 gauge, no worries. Don't worry, you'll see it start to wiggle and do all kinds of weird stuff, but if you pay attention to the edge, what you'll also see is once we get done and these outside rings meet together and smash it, all the forming that's happening, the last bit of that forming is flattening it out. So once these are completely closed on there, it's flattened the panel back out. now we have our dimple die or flare, whatever you want to call it. So this will be to the inside of the vehicle. This is what you might see looking in on the panel. And once we sand this down smoother rather, and paint this, they'll be a lot more noticeable. I know it's hard right now because of all the light reflecting, but it's just that easy. So we're just gonna do this 9 more times and then we're done with this step. Go. Let's take it over, get the other panel done, take it over to the vehicle and see what it looks like. That's about it. I have to, like I said, DA sand them down, get them a little smoother. From the grinder marks are pretty rough, especially as you can see right there. But I just hit them with a little black paint real quick so you can get an idea. Probably be a week or so before I actually weld them in. I like to try to get a bunch of projects done and ready for welding, and then just have like a day of welding kind of deal. Plus these I want to TIG weld in along the face. I just want to put some real small welds, and I have to dig my TIG welder out, which I'll have help here tomorrow to do that. So, but I could have went with a larger dimple die and open this area up more, but I dig it. And like I say, it'll help strengthen this up and give me some little more help if there is a rollover. And I'll probably make some simple strips to go in here for the same thing, and that way the cage is attached to the B pillar. Not much room here, so I doubt that I'll dimple die them. I'll probably just put a couple of 6 or 12-inch strips in, you know, here and here, and then same thing over there. Just give me some more peace of mind. So that's it. Not horrible. Pretty simple project. Obviously you gotta have the tools, but I would say, including taking the windshield out, this was about a 4-hour project with me not, you know, busting my ass or trying to break any speed records, just taking my time and making sure everything went smoothly, which it did. So slow is fast. Everything fits nice, fits well. I don't have any issues. And again, visibility will be just fine. You know, if we come in here, there's the driver's side view, you know. Doesn't block anything. Doesn't block anything at all on the passenger side. And over here, there's probably maybe a 1/4 inch. Probably more than that, but yeah, maybe like an inch strip I would have been able to see out of. I'd gladly give up that inch strip through here for more rigidity and strength. So, hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to knock some more projects out and make some more short videos. But, you know, smash that like button for your boy. Appreciate it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, how I did, if you've ever seen this before, if you want to see more stuff like this in the future, etc., etc. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and click the bell so you get all the notifications of all the other projects we're doing. Appreciate you viewing this one, and we got more to come.